The creepy gnome of Argentina. In 2008, a bizarre and unsettling sighting of a gnome was captured on video in General Güemes, Argentina. The footage was filmed by Jose Alvarez, who reported encountering the creature while spending time with friends late at night. We were chatting about a fishing trip around 1 a.m. Jose explained. I was casually filming on my phone while the others were joking around. Suddenly, we heard a strange noise like stones being thrown. We turned and saw the grass moving. At first, we thought it was a dome, but then this small gnome-like figure emerged from the shadows, and we were terrified. Since the initial sighting, other locals claim to have seen the gnome too, leaving the town gripped with fear, the devil's footprints. On the night of February 9th, 1855, after a light snowfall, an eerie phenomenon occurred in Devon, England. A series of hoof-like footprints appeared in the snow, stretching over 100 miles. Each print measured between 1.5 to 2.5 inches wide and was spaced about 8 inches apart. The trail bizarrely defied logic. It traveled in straight lines, crossing over rooftops, walls, rivers, haystacks. The prints also led to and from small drain pipes as narrow as 4 inches in diameter. At the time, there were whispers of a devil-like figure roaming the area. Townsfolk armed themselves and attempted to track the beast, but no culprit was ever found. Incredibly, on March 12, 2009, similar strange footprints reappeared in Devon, reigniting the centuries-old mystery, Jeff the Talking Mongoose. In September 1931, the Irving family, living in a remote farmhouse on the Isle of Man, began hearing peculiar sounds, scratches, rustling, and growls coming from inside their walls. At first, they thought it was a rat, but the noises evolved into something much stranger. One day, the unseen creature introduced itself. It claimed to be a mongoose named Jeff, born in New Delhi, India, in 1852. According to the Irving's daughter, Vore, Jeff was small, about the size of a rat, with yellowish fur and a bushy tail. Jeff would alternate between playful and sinister. He once declared, "I am a freak. I have hands and feet, and if you saw me, you'd be petrified." While the family believed Jeff was real, skeptics suspected it was a hoax. Vore, who reportedly saw Jeff the most, maintained until her death in 2005 that he was no fabrication. The disappearance of James Warson. On September 3, 1873, James Warson accepted a challenge to prove his bragging rights as a skilled runner. The goal was to complete a 20-mile trek between Leamington and Coventry, England. Warson's friends, Hammerson, Burns, and Barham Wise, followed closely behind in a horse-drawn carriage, with Burns carrying a camera to document the feat. All seemed normal until Warson, running down the road, suddenly stumbled. As he pitched forward, he let out a blood-curdling scream. But instead of hitting the ground, he vanished mid-fall, completely and inexplicably. Burns captured the aftermath. The soft dirt on the road showed Warson's footprints leading up to the spot, but then they simply ended. A search party scoured the area, but neither Warson nor any evidence of him was ever found. Even bloodhounds refused to approach the spot where he disappeared. The mysterious cries of Larry. On August 7, 1973, CB radio users across New Mexico were startled to hear desperate cries for help from a young boy. He identified himself as Larry, explaining he was trapped inside a red and white pickup truck with his father, who had suffered a fatal heart attack. Larry claimed their truck had flipped into a ravine during a rabbit hunting trip. With both doors jammed shut, he was unable to escape. His faint signal faded in and out over the next several days, and reports of his pleas were heard as far as California, Wyoming, and even Canada. Rescue teams scoured the Manzano Mountains in New Mexico, but no truck or boy was ever found. To add to the confusion, a helicopter pilot claimed to make contact with a boy calling himself David, not Larry. Despite numerous reports, police eventually called off the search, citing a lack of evidence. Some believe the incident was a hoax, but those who spoke to the boy insist his fear and desperation were genuine. The Isdal woman. On November 29, 1970, hikers in Norway's Isdalen Valley stumbled upon the charred remains of a woman. Her body was surrounded by sleeping pills and gasoline canisters. Strangely, all identifying marks, clothing labels, and fingerprints had been removed. Investigators traced her belongings to 2 suitcases at Bergen Station. Inside were cryptic items, a prescription lotion with the doctor's name removed, broken glasses with partial fingerprints, and 500 German marks hidden in the lining of a suitcase. The woman had used at least 9 aliases while traveling through Europe. Witnesses recalled she wore wigs, spoke multiple languages, and always stayed in hotel rooms with balconies. One man came forward decades later, claiming to have encountered the woman just days before her death. She was hiking inappropriately dressed and appeared terrified, silently followed by 2 men in black coats. The man didn't share his story for 32 years, saying a police officer told him, "Forget her. She was disposed of." The mystery of the Isdal woman remains unsolved to this day. Kevin Nguyen, 25, went missing in the early hours of December 9, 2018. According to his family, he was last seen at the Brass Rail on Broadway in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He was reportedly asked to leave the bar after an altercation. That was the last time anyone saw or heard from him. In the days that followed, Kevin's family, friends, and community members desperately searched for him. On Sunday, nearly 150 volunteers gathered at Lakeside Park to comb the area for any sign of him. Search efforts extended to the banks of the St. Joseph and St. Mary's rivers, as well as the area surrounding the Brass Rail. On Thursday, Kevin's broken glasses were discovered in the parking lot of the bar. His family noted that his vision was very poor, making it unlikely he could have navigated without them. This find deepened their concerns and cast a shadow over the search. Bar management disclosed that Kevin had entered the bar 4 times that evening. Video footage from a nearby Arby's showed Kevin walking past the restaurant twice, once around 1:40 a.m. and again at 2:45 a.m. Despite this evidence in the bar's surveillance footage, 2 years passed with no solid leads. Many believe Kevin may have accidentally fallen into the river due to his poor vision, but searches of the water turned up nothing. His body was never recovered, leaving his family with unanswered questions and fading hope. Michaela Lawrence. In 2002, 12-year-old Michaela Lawrence and her family were devastated when they received news that her father had died in a horrific car accident. The crash was so severe that his body was barely recognizable, and the family decided on a closed-casket funeral. But the tragedy didn't end there. Weeks after the funeral, strange packages began arriving at the Lawrence home. Each package was addressed to Michaela and contained small, seemingly insignificant items, trinkets, and knickknacks. The first was a model of Big Ben that Michaela's mother immediately recognized as something that had been in their home before. Then came an antique stopwatch from the 1950s, broken and unusable, but familiar to Michaela's mother. The packages arrived sporadically with no return address or indication of who had sent them. On Michaela's 13th birthday, a card arrived. It was signed, "Love, Mom and Dad," in her father's handwriting. Michaela's mother recognized the card as one they had gifted their daughter years earlier. This confirmed her growing suspicion that the items being sent were possessions from their home, her late husband's belongings. When she tried to check the family's safe for missing items, the combination no longer worked. The police could do little except advise the family to install security cameras. To this day, no one knows how these items were removed from their home or who sent them back. Frauke Liebs disappeared on June 20, 2006, in Paderborn, Germany, under circumstances that remain chillingly mysterious. That night, Frauke had gone out with friends to watch a World Cup soccer match at the Old Triangle Irish pub. Her mother dropped her off around 9 p.m., and Frauke exchanged texts with a friend until her phone battery died. She borrowed a phone battery from a friend, but returned it before leaving the pub at 11 p.m. With only $5 on her, it's assumed she intended to walk the short mile to her flat. But Frauke never arrived home. At 12:49 a.m., her flatmate Chris received a text from Frauke, stating she would be back late. Over the following week, Frauke called Chris 5 times. The calls were brief, made during the evenings, and strangely cryptic. She reassured him that she would come back, but gave no clear answers about where she was or what had happened. During the last call, Frauke's sister asked if she was being held against her will. Frauke hesitated, then said yes, only to quickly correct herself, loudly saying no. After that, all contact ceased. Her body was found on October 4, 2006, in a remote wooded area, but no cause of death was determined. Police believe the calls were made from a car traveling through various industrial zones in Paderborn. Frauke's disappearance and death remain unsolved. Jack Wheeler, a prominent figure known for his work on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial and in various government roles, vanished under mysterious circumstances in late December 2010. On December 28th, Jack was seen exiting an Amtrak train in Wilmington, Delaware. 2 days later, on December 30th, he was spotted wandering near Orange Street, disoriented and wearing only one shoe. Surveillance footage from earlier showed him at a parking garage, claiming his briefcase had been stolen. Witnesses said he appeared upset but refused offers of help. The following day, December 31st, Jack's body was discovered at the Cherry Island landfill. His death was ruled a homicide caused by blunt force trauma. Investigators determined that a garbage truck had picked up Jack's body from a dumpster in Newark, Delaware, near his home. Jack's strange behavior in the days leading up to his death, including his apparent confusion and agitation, has fueled speculation. To this day, no one knows what happened to Jack Wheeler in the hours before his death or who was responsible for his murder. Even more mysterious was the lighthouse log. It described strange events in the days leading up to their disappearance. One man had reportedly grown silent, another had wept uncontrollably, and all three seemed terrified by a looming storm. The log ended cryptically with the words, "The storm has passed, the skies are calm, God is over all." But records show there was no storm in the area at the time. The keepers were never seen again. The most accepted theory is that a rogue wave swept them into the sea, but questions remain. Why would experienced lighthouse keepers leave the safety of their station during dangerous weather? The mystery of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse endures, chilling visitors and historians alike. The deaths of Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. In April 2014, two Dutch students, Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, set off on a hike in the jungles near Boquete, Panama, while on a study abroad trip. They were excited for adventure, but they would never return. Days turned into weeks, and search parties scoured the area, finding no trace of the young women. Then 10 weeks later, a local woman found a backpack near a river. Inside were their belongings, passports, a camera, and 2 cell phones. When investigators examined the camera, they found an eerie sequence of photographs. The early photos were cheerful, showing the women enjoying their hike. But later images, taken days after their disappearance, were disturbing. Over 100 nighttime photos captured blurry rocks, trees, and what appeared to be the back of someone's head. Even more troubling were the records from their phones. For days, the women had tried to call emergency services but couldn't get a signal. Eventually, their call stopped. Weeks later, scattered remains were found miles from the trail, including a boot with a foot still inside. The cause of death remains unknown. Did they succumb to the elements, or was someone else involved? To this day, the deaths of Chris and Lisanne remain a tragic and chilling mystery. The death of Kendrick Johnson on January 11, 2013, Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old high school student, was found dead inside a rolled-up gym mat in the gymnasium of Lowndes High School in Georgia. Authorities initially ruled his death an accident, suggesting Kendrick had fallen into the mat while trying to retrieve a shoe and suffocated. But Kendrick's family didn't believe this explanation. They requested a second autopsy, which revealed blunt force trauma to his head, a detail absent from the original report. Suspicion grew when bloodstains were found near the scene, yet no blood was reportedly found on Kendrick's body. Surveillance footage from the gym also appeared to be missing or tampered with. The case gained national attention, with many suspecting foul play and a potential cover-up. Despite years of protests and investigations, Kendrick's death remains unresolved, a painful mystery for his family and community. The disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. In 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley, a 23-year-old woman from Virginia, disappeared while on a Caribbean cruise with her family aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas. Amy was last seen early in the morning relaxing on the ship's deck. By sunrise, she was gone. Over the years, there have been chilling reports of sightings. In 1998, Canadian tourists claimed to have seen a woman resembling Amy on a beach in Curaçao, noting tattoos identical to hers. In 1999, a U.S. Navy sailor reported meeting a woman in a brothel who said her name was Amy Bradley and begged for help. Another possible sighting occurred in 2005, when a witness spotted a woman matching Amy's description in a department store in Barbados. Amy's family believes she may have been abducted and sold into human trafficking. They appeared on television shows, including Dr. Phil, pleading for answers. A photo emailed to the family in 2005 showed a woman resembling Amy in captivity, but nothing definitive has been found. Her disappearance remains a haunting and unresolved case. The disappearance of Kenny Veach. Kenny Veach, an experienced hiker and adventurer from Nevada, became obsessed with a mysterious cave he stumbled upon in the Mojave Desert. He called it the M Cave because its entrance resembled the letter M. According to Kenny, as he approached the cave, his body began to vibrate with an intensity he couldn't explain. Spooked, he left but vowed to return. Kenny recorded a YouTube video sharing his experience and promised to revisit the cave. On his second trip, he brought a camera but failed to find the cave. Undeterred, he ventured out a third time and never came back. Search teams later found his cell phone near an abandoned mine, but no trace of Kenny was ever discovered. Did he fall victim to the desert's harsh conditions, or was there something more sinister about the cave? Kenny's disappearance continues to fascinate conspiracy theorists and adventurers alike, adding to the eerie allure of the Mojave Desert. Each of these stories represents a thread of mystery, a glimpse into the unknown, and a chilling reminder of how fragile and fleeting life can be.